Cheap fast fashion comes at a high cost. Fast fashion has become more and more popular since the beginning of the 21st century, and fashion-hungry shoppers, who mostly live in first-world countries, can buy cheap and trendy clothing whenever required. Instead of introducing new items seasonally, fast fashion retailers are restocking their shelves several times a week. Unfortunately, this business model is harming the environment, and there are people who are suffering because of this trend. The world is now producing 400% more clothing compared to 30 years ago. The growing demand for affordable clothing forces many retail companies to find cheap labor in developing countries like India and Bangladesh. The International Labour Organization, ILO, estimates that 170 million children are involved in child labor, and that is particularly common in the fashion industry because they require mostly low-skilled workers who only need to do routine work like fabric dyeing and sewing. Some of the tasks, like cotton picking, are even more suitable for young children because their small fingers would not damage the crops. These young workers are exposed to dangerous chemicals in the factories and work extremely long hours for a small wage. In 2013, an 8-story building in Dhaka, Bangladesh, which contains several major fast fashion factories, collapsed, killing 1,134 people and injuring thousands, including young children. These exploited workers are risking their lives and working tirelessly to make a living, but the clothing that they are making are being thrown away every single day. In China, 26 million tons of textile waste is generated annually. This waste ends up in landfills and may take hundreds of years to break down because, unlike natural materials like cotton and silk, cheap synthetic fabrics like acrylic, rayon, and polyester are made of fossil fuels. In fact, 70 million barrels of oil are used yearly in fabric making, not to mention that there are cancer-causing chemicals in these materials. The harmful effects of fast fashion do not end there. About 5.5 to 9.5 trillion liters of water is used by the fashion industry annually, and 20% of industrial water pollution comes from treating and dyeing textiles. Most of the factories pump the hazardous waste directly into local fresh water supplies. Moreover, transporting clothing to different shops around the world leaves a huge carbon footprint, which contributes to global warming. As a whole, the fashion industry is responsible for 10% of the world's carbon emissions. From these statistics, it is not surprising that designer Eileen Fisher said that the clothing industry is the second largest polluter in the world, only after the oil industry, when she accepted an environmental award in 2015. It is clear that the fast fashion industry is treating workers unfairly and causing great damage to the environment. It is therefore important for shoppers to consider these facts before making a fast fashion purchase.